Hi everyone, welcome to today's video, which is the Sephora Fantasy Cart edition, in which I share with you what I would like to buy from the Sephora UK site for the forthcoming Gold member sale, as well as my fantasy Sephora.com cart, which is filled with items that I would love to be able to buy if I was across the pond. So watch on. We're basically all colluding in one massive manifestation exercise, in that I'm basically inviting the universe to make Sephora.com's offering available to everybody who wants it in the world and beyond, as well as, I suppose, kind of trying to fulfill my own kind of fantasy, really. I don't think anyone's going to give me that amount of money by the end of the day in order to spend, but you never know. The sharp-eyed amongst you will notice that I am not wearing a stethoscope, and therefore I am not medically trained. I know how this works. I've watched so many medical dramas. I know what it takes. However, that is not going to stop me from quoting a good doctor in the form of Dr. Sigmund Freud. He basically said that the makeup lover who is successful in life is the one who transforms their desire into reality. And that, I think, encapsulates the Sephora sale. And I'm paraphrasing because he used the word men when he really meant makeup lovers. His unconscious was a very dark place. At any rate, let's kick off. Like a lot of people, I tend to buy the really expensive stuff in the sale, and that kind of kicks off really how I feel about the hair care stuff that I buy. I always stock up in Oribe. I'm not the first, and I'm certainly not going to be the last person to say this to you. It's pretty expensive stuff. I think it's broadly worth it. I don't think it's the miracle worker that I tend to see, here on YouTube. I think it's a very, very good product, and it's pretty reliable. That's what I would say for somebody with, very, very tricky and very frizzy hair. So I buy I'm going to look it up now so I can tell you. I buy the Gold Lust Repair and Restore conditioner and shampoo, and I tend to every year actually buy a bottle of each, and then also a refills. That's as long as it's in stock. It's not always in stock. In the past, I have also bought the sort of gift sets, which actually have been pretty good value. And last year I got one with the hair mask in, which was the moisture mask, which was excellent. So I would really recommend that if your hair is dry. If you've got fine hair, go easy with it, however, because it's pretty gloopy and it can weigh your hair down. I tend to use that mask actually more on holiday than at any other time, when I'm not necessarily blow drying my hair. I'm just kind of tying it back and getting on with it and having a good time. So that's what I would say with the Oribe products. They're definitely worth it, and they are absolutely my picks and what I am going to be buying. In terms of hair, the other thing that I would say is definitely worth buying this time of year, because it's pretty pricey, although it seems to last forever, is the K18 mask and the K18 oil. I've actually got a little one on my desk at all times, and I have sort of big ones dotted around as well. Here's the little oil. It lasts forever. You really only need, my hair's short now. I think I use 2 drops now. When I had very long hair, I was using maybe 5 or 6 drops. It's a really, really good product. And it's actually, weirdly, everything has gone up so much. These products don't actually seem as expensive as they used to be, but they're still absolutely worth buying this time of year. The K18 mask is worth every penny, but you mustn't use it as a mask. And I have to say, the brand is pretty remiss, I think, at telling you or telling us how to use it properly. It really needs to be used, properly in order to get the best out of it. And that really does mean rubbing your hands together until the product appears white, and then applying it on your hair, and also applying it pretty sparingly as well, and then blow drying it after waiting sort of 4 or 5 minutes. But that is a kind of a bête noire of mine, because I do hear so many negative comments about the product, but that's because they're not really as clear as they should be in terms of the instructions. But anyway, If you have tricky hair, and certainly if you are somebody who blow dries your hair yourself at home as opposed to sneaking out for a cheeky blow dry, as I often do, then this is the product for you. I really love it, and it has actually transformed how quickly I can blow dry my hair as somebody who is very late to the blow drying themselves party, as it were. So those are my hair care top tips. I want to share with you a couple of products, one for hands and one for feet, which I think are worth buying this time of year. They're not terribly expensive, but a great discount is still a great discount. And these are made by, I'm sorry, I've got a cat who's kind of joining in. And these are made by L'Occitane, the hand cream and the foot cream. They're both fabulous. I think I favour them because I really like the fragrance. A lot of foot creams these days, I think, have got a kind of mentholy or slightly medicated fragrance, and I don't really like that at bedtime, partly because I have a hot water bottle. The heat seems to amplify the fragrance, so I am quite sensitive to that. At any rate, they really are worth it. I was quite surprised, however, when I was looking through the body care section of the Sephora.com site to look for this to look for this product, because I want to talk to you about it. And I found all sorts of personal care devices that I had no idea were there. The question is, are they on discount as well? Who knows? But I was, if you see it, I did take my glasses off for dramatic effect to show how both shocked and titillated I was. At any rate, talking of tools, I do want to tell you about this Hourglass makeup brush set, which I think is absolutely cracking and is in my basket in the UK. Now, it's the Face and Eye Travel Brush Set. Let me find it here. Now, I'll tell you what I like about it. I really love the Hourglass brushes. I've got a couple that I use a lot, my double-ended one, which regular viewers will have seen me use, and the concealer brush, which is fantastic. And I always and over buying more, and now I've finally, decided to go for it because the travel set looks good, it looks good value, and it comes, as you can see, with a vegan leather kind of carrier case. Now, they call it, this is what I like about it, the thing I really like about it is this, they call it a travel set, but unlike most travel sets on the market, they seem to be full size. I don't know about you, but when I'm on holiday, however long the flight, my hands do not shrink in size just because I'm on holiday. I like a full length brush, and I've kind of fallen for this in the past thinking, oh, it's really handy, and actually what it is slightly annoying, and I end up kind of somehow dropping the brushes or being a bit cack-handed with them, whereas if they're the actual size that I'm used to, I don't know, I just think it's more practical. And is it really going to make a difference? I don't think it is. Regular viewers know I'm not a light packer, but I don't think it makes that much difference, and these are really worth going for. So I would highly recommend these brushes. I love my natural hair Refa brushes. They are really my number one, but in terms of synthetic, I think these are unbeatable. The only thing I will say is, particularly in the States, if you can get the double-ended brushes which have got the sort of the new designs to match the 3 new face palettes, I've just dropped my glasses, excuse me, to match the 3 new face palettes, you may be tempted by those, but they are much harder. They are not the same quality. I was very surprised, and you may see this actually, I think it was my Harrods vlog where I tried them. They're really hard, so I wouldn't recommend those. Go for these instead. This time last year, or thereabouts, I took the plunge and finally bought a Dermaflash. Now, I had seen the reviews online, I'd read about it. What was stopping me was firstly the high price point, so the sale kind of made a difference, but also I don't like gadgets. As a general rule, I don't like gadgets. And, it took me a long time to buy a slow cooker, for example. Tin opener, ice cream scoop, that's about as technical as I like to get. But I have to tell you, I bought the Dermaflash, then it basically sat in a cupboard for 3 months, maybe more. And then it was about 4 months. And then I finally took the plunge. And honestly, I have not looked back. I cannot recommend this product enough. Everything that you have read, if you have read about it or watched any videos or whatever, is true. It's a really good product. You can't cut yourself. It gets rid of the peach fuzz. It gets rid of peach fuzz that I didn't think I had a problem. What sort of attracted me to it and why I was kind of, you know, if it was a cheaper product, I would have probably taken the plunge. But what really got me interested was the fact that it was a kind of way of exfoliating quite gently. Now, as I said, peach fuzz isn't necessarily a thing I particularly notice, apart from if I'm in sunlight looking in a mirror in a particular angle, and frankly, who's got the time? But it's amazing. A lot comes off. Okay, that you're going to expect that. I mean, if you did the back of your hand as well, as I have tried doing, not much came off, but quite a bit more came off my arm when I was kind of practicing. But I'll tell you what you get. It definitely is the case that my skincare absorbs more deeply, becomes more efficacious. So from that point of view, that's really good. And also I have noticed since using it that my foundation lies really well. So from that point of view, it's really worth it. Now, they say we should do it once a week. I don't do it once a week. The razor blades themselves are actually quite pricey. It's a bit like printers. That's kind of how they make their money, by the refill of the, you know, printers. It's kind of the actual color printer bit that you put in, the ink, and it's the same with this. You know, the razors are quite pricey. I find once every 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, or 3 to 5 weeks, that's enough for me. Once a week for me would probably be way too much, and I'm kind of scared of, in a way, of kind of disturbing the balance of the skin as well, just being dry and being slightly sensitive, particularly this time of year. But I highly recommend you take the plunge at this time of year with this discount if you can, and if it's in stock, because it's really worth it. I regret waiting as long as I did, firstly to buy it, and then waiting as long as I did to actually use it and open up the box. It's really easy to use. Honestly, it's just no sweat at all. I've dropped my glasses again. You see, I can't even manage with glasses, and that's a gadget. But it's idiot-proof, frankly. Really easy. You can't cut yourself. It's fantastic. The thing to remember is you need to use it on a bone-dry face. So I tend to really cleanse well, do my double cleanse. I'll always give it a little wash with my La Mer. There is the gel that you're meant to use. I don't use it to cleanse. I don't use it. I don't particularly like the gel, but you know, it comes with a kit. And when you buy refills with the actual razor blades, they give you another one of those gels. You know, as I said, that's just not what I use, but I'm not saying you shouldn't. And I'm sure the manufacturer would say we should use it in order to be safe, but I don't. I'm a bit of a rebel, apparently. Anyway, all I'm saying is it's really, really worth it. I would highly, highly recommend it. And it's so much better than using the little disposable ones, which I had experimented with, actually just for sort of between my eyebrows. And honestly, no, I think you've really got to concentrate to get a really good effect and not sort of mess it up. This is goof proof and it's fantastic. It's just, the effect is wonderful. My skin afterwards, as you would expect, is super baby smooth, but you would expect that, wouldn't you? It's more than that. The skincare works better, the foundation of my makeup just lies better. It's just really good and it's worth it. And I'm telling you, as a non-gadget person, I don't like gadgets because I hate that feeling at the end when I don't use it and it's just kind of sitting there and there's a big lump of plastic just kind of sitting there. I'm not a gadget person. This is really good, and I think it really is worth the money. It's worth the outlay, but now is the time to buy it. It really is. In terms of skincare, I stock up on my staple items, and those are ones which are either on the go throughout the year, or I kind of need to have in the cupboard because I know I'll draw on them at certain times of the year. And I try and buy as much as possible, sort of to get me through the next 12 months, budget allowing, as we know. So let's kick off with a product which I think you either love it or you hate it, and that is Charlotte Tilbury's Magic Cream. For my sins, I have the Disney commemorative jar. Yeah, like I need to relive the Disneyland experience. It's going to take some Dumbledore levels of magic, let me tell you, to expunge that kind of trauma. I'm not in a hurry to relive that. I don't know why I bought this. Is actually my second actual jar, but in terms of the thingy what's it inserts, because it's refillable, I think for this jar it's my third, and I've gone through loads of them, you know. I really like it, particularly this time of year. I'm a very dry skin. I'm just getting more and more decrepit by the day, and I need all the help I can get. I don't use it as a moisturizer, I use it as a primer. It tends to go on top of my moisturizer and serum and everything else after probably a good half hour or more has elapsed, and then I'll put it on, give it a good 5 minutes, and then put my makeup. And over the winter, this is fabulous. It's got a very old-fashioned fragrance, which I also quite like. It just smells like an old-fashioned cold cream, and maybe it is an old, who knows? Who knows what's in here? Maybe the magic is that it's just cold cream. I don't know, but whatever it is, it works for me, and my makeup just looks dewy and fresh, and it is especially throughout the winter when I'm assiduously using this. So that's why I'm buying another jar and another refill of these, because I kind of live in fear of either dropping this or when I take it away with me, just doing something. So, you know, it's just kind of worth it to me. So that's what I would say. I prefer it to the Bobbi Brown, whatever this is called. I'm not mad on the Bobbi Brown lemony fragrance, but that's, you know, that's kind of another story. I do like the Bobbi Brown, it works really well. It just, for me, this one is really the one to kind of go for. If you have got dry skin and if you are mature, I kind of urge you to give it a go, albeit perhaps maybe in the little 30ml size, which is, you know, I think they do an even smaller one as well. But anyway, that's really sort of a #1 purchase at this time of year. As is, I should say, my cleansers. Now, I do use a lot of cleanser throughout the year, as I'm sure you do too. A staple of mine, which is really unglamorous, is the Clinique Take the Day Off, and I use that. So I do stock up on those. I've got 4 in my basket in this one, in this basket here, because that is what I'm going to be buying from the Sephora sale. Assuming, again, you know, the caveat for us is always the stock. There's always a stock problem in the UK, which I suppose is how they manage what we can buy and what we can't. And I don't get the sense that it's quite the same cynicism has pervaded Sephora.com, although I may be wrong. Let me know down below in the comments. I'd like to hear whether that's your experience as well. But anyway, so I stock up on that because even though I like to use fancier, more kind of beautifully fragranced, perhaps ones with more slip in terms of cleansers, I always revert to the Clinique, particularly when I've had a heavier makeup, and I'm sort of definitely going to do 2 extremely good, sometimes 3 cleanses just to really get everything off. And also that does, with no effort at all, take off eye makeup. And if my eyes are particularly sensitive and eczematic and dry, that's the one that really doesn't scare the horses, you know? It's fine. It does feel like I am slathering a tub of lard over my face, and again, a bit like the Charlotte Tilbury with the cold cream. Maybe I am, but it works. It really, really works. So I stock up on that product as well. I go through 1 tube of the La Mer foaming cleanser a year. It lasts me precisely 12 months, and it's this time of year that I stock up on it because it's pretty expensive. I can't tell you whether it's kind of worth the hefty price tag. The thing that I will say to you is I can't really use water on my face, and I certainly can't use kind of foamy stuff. And this seems to be the one that when I really want that feeling, and it tends to be, frankly, after I've been ill and I just feel a bit generally skanky and I want to give myself a really good old, you know, wash, scrub, whatever. This does not dry my skin out. So from that point of view, for me, it's worth every penny because it's clearly gentle, and clearly for somebody who doesn't even get on with water, you know, it's absolutely fine, and it's actually a pleasure to use. You need to use the teeny tiniest amount because it really kind of spreads and foams and whatever, and I tend to give myself a really good go, and on my neck and the back of my neck as well with it. So in other words, anywhere that I kind of think is face. I know that's not technical. I did tell you I'm not a qualified doctor, so, you know, I don't know why you're surprised, frankly. The other product that I really, really like, and I do use a lot of, is the Kora Eye Oil. So I do stock up on those because, you know, any just saving a few pounds, frankly, on this, given how much I go through it. And it does last a long time. I should tell you, I think realistically, it's 2 of these a year with a little bit left over. So let's say 1 3/4 a year. So they are worth stocking up on. They do last a long time. And I like the way there's a roller ball on it. So in other words, I'm not sitting there sticking fingers in and doing all of that. It's just really quick and easy to do. And I do top it up. I tend to use 2 kind of layers of it in the morning. In other words, I'll put some on straight away, brush my teeth, do everything else, do my face, do all of that, you know, and by the time I put my SPF on, I give it another go, and then it's ready to be used underneath concealer. It's a really good product. I really recommend it if you're very dry under the eyes, and if you have a problem, particularly, I mean, the only time I use it is during the day, not at night, but particularly if you struggle with finding an eye product that's kind of plays nicely underneath your concealer, I just think it's worth a go. The eyes are so kind of individual, aren't they? More than any, it feels to me anyway, more than any other part of the face and any other part of skincare, it seems to be eye creams and what we use around our eyes that seems to be the most problematic. For me, I kind of really feel I've found my, you know, ideal product for during the day. I was going to say Holy Grail. I'm so fed up with that phrase, so I'm not going to use it. But anyway, I do feel that I've found my ideal product. Yeah, Holy Grail is up there with Obsessed and Literally. So I won't be using that either. I'm also going to be stocking up on 3 Lancôme face products. The first is the Rénergie serum, which I wear most mornings actually these days. It's just super duper hydrating. Slips on a treat, and then I can put whatever day cream on top. It's absolutely lovely. Now, even though my day creams and my night creams sort of, you know, they just vary a lot, what I like about the two Rénergie products I'm going to talk to you about is they both perform a sort of separate function. One is the night cream. I just think it's a really good cream. I tend to take it away with me because it's a way of kind of simplifying my regime when I'm away, if I need to. I prefer not to, but if I need to, it's just a very good moisturizing, extremely hydrating cream that's not too sticky for bedtime, and in the morning my skin is really lovely, radiant, well hydrated, just looks great. Then the other cream that I just want to mention to you, it came out this year. It's the Rénergie in the UK we've got SPF 50. I notice in the US I think yours is SPF 25. What a fabulous cream. I went through 2 jars of it. I mean, it was only released this year, and I'm stocking up now because actually for the summer it's the most fantastic sunblock combined with both as a way of kind of, so it's not so much streamlining the routine, but I'm definitely limiting the chance of pilling, which sometimes happens just because I do so much sort of layering on my skin to keep it hydrating because it is so dry that sometimes pilling can happen. And while it's not the end of the world, you know, damp cloth gets rid of that, it's fine. It just simplifies things. And this Rénergie SPF has been actually, I think, the best face cream that I've ever used that has got a very high SPF. I use plenty of it to make sure I get the coverage. This year I used it, you know, on a Mediterranean trip, and my face didn't really suntan at all. You know, I was pretty much the same shade that when I came back from my trip as I was when I left. It works really, really well. So I'm stocking up actually for sort of summer 2026. I would highly recommend this product. It's just really, really good. It's also refillable as well. Refills, I think, are quite hard to come by, but anyway, I'm just saying, do think about it, particularly if you are somebody like me that likes to wear a lot of skincare, and then sort of sometimes SPF can seem like, oh, yet another step to do, or as I said, can sometimes result in a bit of pilling. And the pilling for me sometimes, it doesn't happen for weeks, and then it happens, and there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to it. So this kind of prevents it. It's a really, really good cream. I've got 3 foundation recommendations for the Sephora sale, starting off with something that's been around for quite a long time, and I urge you, if you've not tried it, now may well be the time. This is the Pat McGrath Skin Fetish Foundation. This is so great. It's so wonderful for somebody who wants both a natural makeup, but it also is buildable as well. It's got the most beautiful natural sort of finish. I would say by the time I've got it to a medium coverage, it's kind of semi-matte, what used to be called semi-matte. It's really lovely, very easy to use, beautiful for a mature skin, very forgiving, just lovely. I'm stocking up because I've got to the sort of the last third. I think this is my third bottle. I did think it was my second, it's actually my third. I've got to the sort of the last third, so I'm going to stock up and get one. Just so you know, my shade is natural, no it's not, it's medium 16. It's really lovely, perfect foundation, just beautiful, just smoothing. There's a little bit of a glow, but it's not shiny, it's buildable. You can use it with your fingers, you can use it with a brush or a sponge. It's great. Actually, not so much a sponge. I wouldn't recommend a sponge with this. Well, I've not had the success that I have with a brush, or as I said, just my fingers. And I'm not really a fingers person, but this is fantastic. Then one of my absolute favorite foundations was released much earlier this year, the Givenchy Glow Foundation. Cannot recommend this enough. It's absolutely divine. The only thing I will say, if you don't like fragrance in your makeup, this has got fragrance, no question. It's very much a French foundation in that sense. I happen to absolutely love the fragrance, but I'm not sensitive at all to fragrance, so just bear that in mind. But the foundation is absolutely glorious. I am dead on the 4.5N in this. It is absolutely dead on my my shade. It's fantastic. I cannot recommend it enough. It's glowy but not shiny. It gives you radiance but not that sort of sweaty look. You don't have to powder on top of this if you don't want to. As I've said, I'm a dry skin, but I've always got, as you know, lots and lots of skincare underneath, not least the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream, and it's just wonderful. It plays brilliantly with everything that I put underneath it, or anything it sits on top of, whichever way you want to go. It's really, really good. My final recommendation, and I think this is kind of, people don't talk enough about this. When it was launched, there was a lot of fuss about Merit. This really is the foundation that has just kind of blown me away, frankly. So I'm going to buy another one. It's not so much that I'm coming to the end of it. I think I'm more than halfway through and I don't want to run out. This is so wonderful. If you are the kind of person that just wants, I mean, it's called a minimalist. I don't want to say it's a minimal makeup, but if you're the kind of person that wants a really easy way of applying your foundation, and then you might put a bit of mascara and lip gloss on, you're out the door, this is your friend. Not least because, you know, it's really easy to apply. You just kind of scribble it on, use your fingers, or I typically use a brush and just, you know, put it on. You know what? It's great as a concealer in a pinch. It's just got lots of coverage. It's very creamy. It's just wonderful. My shade is Camel, which is really perfect for me. You can use a deeper shade as well if you want to as a contour. It's just wonderful. I've been blown away by this. Out of all the Merit products that I have tried, and I reviewed earlier on in the year when my channel was very, very young, I've subsequently bought other products that I've just not been impressed by at all, and sort of haven't bothered reviewing them because I don't really want to be giving negative stuff, because it's kind of, well, that's a bit of a downer for everybody unless I'm particularly disappointed. This is an absolute winner. I cannot recommend it enough. Really, really wonderful. There was a bit of hype at the beginning. It's kind of died down. This is really, really worth it. So it's worth your consideration. It really is. And now onto a bit of colour, starting with blush. So many blush releases, and yet I still go back time and time again to these two, Coral Clash, Nude Lavalière. But I see in the States, you have a shade that I can't access in the UK or in the rest of Europe. So to that end, I have put it in my basket. I was going to say casket. That's not good, is it? That's the wrong kind of makeup. Reminds me of a story of a girl that I used to work with. when I was on counter, and I won't say who she worked for, but it was an enormous French brand. It's still an enormous French brand. And she said to me, oh, I've always worked with people and I've always worked with makeup. And I said, oh, what other brand were you working for? She was literally working in a funeral parlour, and she was the makeup girl for the funeral parlour. That is my joke. It's not really funny, it's more of an anecdote, but I do think of it from time to time. At any rate, Make Me Blush 23 Hot Mauve. I've no idea what this shade is like. I've never swatched it, but it is in my fantasy Sephora cart, because I would definitely, if I could buy it here, I would just buy it, because I really, really trust the shades in these. There isn't a dud amongst them. I've swatched them all, I love them all, they're all fantastic. I have this, and the only reason I'm not really recommending this is not because I don't use it. I do use it, I do really like it. It's just that you get 3 highlighters, and I'm not that much of a highlighter user, and when I do use a highlighter, I'm so wedded to my Prada, or indeed the 1 or 2 shades I get in my Hourglass palette, that these actually compare poorly to those. Also, I have to say, I think I got it for a very good price. Since it's been released sort of, you know, more widely, the price has gone up. So that's the reason why it's not in my Sephora Fantasy cart. But these very much are. They're excellent, they're long lasting, they don't cling to the skin, you can get a lovely diffuse look, they're not too pigmented, it's just the right amount of pigment, and they really last. I find they really last. I'm a bit of a face toucher, and they seem to kind of still manage to endure despite my fidgeting. So I really rate these, and I would really recommend them. I'm slightly flummoxed sometimes when I come across a video or something and someone has said, oh, I don't like them, because I just think they're wonderful. They're also really cute and eminently portable, and you still get a usable mirror. You really do. So I think these are great, and I am intrigued by Hot Mauve or Hot Mauve. I really am, and I want to have it. Now, Sephora.com has a range that I really, really, really want to try, and that is the Vanngo range of makeup that was newly released. Now, it's the eyeshadows that have really caught my eye, and I'm not saying that there aren't other products in the range that I really want to try, lip liners, eyeliners, and so on. However, it really is in the eyeshadow department that if you are in the US, it is as if there is a thick plate of very, very clean and clear glass, and I am like this, staring at you and staring at the plenty that is the Vanngo range. I really, really want to try it. I'm like a little, I was going to say lizard. Lizard's a bit ageist. I don't want to have my name and lizard in the same sentence. But like a little gecko with kind of sticky pads on my fingers. Gecko's kind of apposite, isn't it? Because it was Gordon Gekko who taught us that greed is good. And I suppose it's not like I don't have eyeshadow in my life. I think we all know that. But it's not really about need, is it? It's about desire. So to that end, in my Sephora Fantasy cart, I need to put my glasses on for this because I did enjoy myself. I have got 4 eyeshadow palettes, and I want to share them with you just for the purposes of fun. You may already have all of them, in which case I really hope you're enjoying them, but I am still a little bit jealous. Anyway, so here are the 4 shades that I am buying in my fantasy cart. So I am buying the new neutral, which looks divine to me and right up my street and perfect for every day. I am also buying Wonderful Warm, which does seem a bit too warm, but I think it's going to be lovely. I just want to try them all, to be honest with you. Also, Green and Yellow. That was honestly, when the range was first launched, that was the one that caught my eye immediately. I know it's really bright, but I also feel, having looked at a couple of reviews, and not many people have been that keen to review the green one. I don't know whether that's, that's indicative of anything at all, but I don't think it's as bright as it looks. Am I trying to justify myself? Maybe I am a bit. But anyway, I also think it's a really good price point. So I just really want to go for them. And then also Outstanding Orange. Because the thing that Natasha Denona's Bloom has taught me is that much as I kind of knew I was an apricot-y person, I didn't realise I was quite as apricot-y and orangey as I am. And so I would like to take the relationship with those shades a step further and possibly go all the way. And I think Outstanding Orange is going to be the one. So that is my most exciting insertion in my fantasy Sephora cart. And if you have tried the range, please let me know what you think of it, because, you know, I'm sure it will come here in due course, and I want to be sure that I'm not wasting my time getting excited or fantasizing, really. Although probably that's not going to stop me. But please let me know in the comments down below what you think of the range. It is a particularly exciting range to me. So, and also it is, as I said, it's really, really well priced. I should tell you at this stage that what I did have in my, it wasn't so much my fantasy cart, it was actually my actual Sephora cart, and I'd obviously put it here for the purposes of this video, was the new makeup by Mario. But then, it's interesting, isn't it? A little bit of time kind of made me pause, because it's not so much that I wanted it. I just did kind of think, well, if I can get it on a good discount, it's worth a try. But partly because, and I will talk about this in the next in the next item, not because I think you should buy this, but because it's sort of relevant. But what it did remind me of was the Etherealized Moonlight that I bought last year. There was so much hype about this product. Look, I've hardly used it. I used it 2, maybe 3 times. I thought I really liked it, and then I realized it was making my eyelids really, really dry. So I've still got it because I bought it. And a bit like what I said earlier about gadgets, it's kind of I'm kind of looking at a piece of plastic that I'm just not using. You know, I've paid for it, whatever. Anyway, so my point is, I don't want to go down that route again. I really don't, because even on a discount, it'll still be a waste of money, and I don't want to risk it, frankly. Whereas, looking at these greeny shades of Vanngo, I just think they're definitely worth a go. They're so exciting to me. Anyway, I just wanted to put that there, but I want to hear from you, definitely, if you've used the range and what you think. Now, a bit like the skincare staples, it seems to me that a good neutral matte palette should be in everybody's arsenal. Now, regular viewers will know I'm a real fan of this little mini sculpt palette of Natasha Denona's, and that's probably why when she brought out the 2 big palettes, was it last month or the month before, I didn't sort of feel the need to kind of leap at them. If there had been more if there'd been a few more shimmers in the lighter incarnation, the soft incarnation, I might have been tempted, but it kind of, for me, doesn't do much more than this does, because I don't feel I need that number of shades for what I use this, which is basically carving out the eye. And as I've said before, I pretty much use this almost every day in some way, shape or form. But the reason why I have put the soft palette in my Sephora Fantasy basket is that, or cart, is that if I didn't own this, that would be the right purchase for me. And I suppose the reason why I wanted to talk to you about it today is I would say, if you don't have something like this, it may well be the chance to kind of justify the price, because you can get it on a good discount. I should say, before this came along, the palette that I was using the most was the Makeup by Mario. Is this the Master Mattes Warm? No, it's just the Master Mattes. And I was using this a lot. I really was. It kind of looks unused. I don't know why, because I was using it an awful lot. However, these are even softer, more blendable, slightly less dusty, I have to say. This was always a little bit dusty, but the shades were so good and so usable, I kind of forgave it. But this is kind of perfection. I think that's the case with the bigger palettes as well. So that's really why that's in the basket, to kind of open the conversation with you. If you don't have this, maybe that's actually better value, because these are kind of £26. So by the time you've got your discount, you've got so many more shades, it may be that you use them more. Also, I just want to say, a cracking gift for a makeup lover to have something that's so kind of eminently usable, either in the soft or the deeper shade, or the deeper sort of the deeper shaded palette. So that's really why I wanted to talk to you about these two items. But then, of course, what that leads me to is, once you've got a palette that does this kind of very much a neutral structure to the eye, you can then start using some dazzly, sparkly shades. So to that end, I have included some palettes for you to choose from that I have particularly enjoyed. And while I'm not suggesting you buy all of them or you consider all of them, these are the ones that I sort of maintain that I still kind of reach for. The first one is the limited edition Pat McGrath Gilded Nirvana. I am not a massive Pat McGrath eyeshadow, well, a massive Pat McGrath mothership person. I only own two. The one that came out this year that I don't use, I don't particularly like at all, and is probably in my regrets, really, because I bought it and I'm completely underwhelmed and I don't really like it. But I do really love the mothership Divine Rose. I just love it, and I do reach for it and I do use it a lot. So I was surprised, I am surprised quite how much I love this. I mean, firstly, let's just take a moment and enjoy the beautiful sort of Baroque packaging. It is rather lovely, but these shades are glorious. And if you have used something neutral on your eye, just a single swipe of, look at these kind of shimmery, lovely shades that you can sort of brush, diffuse across the lid just for a little shimmery kind of glint. Really, absolutely beautiful. I love them, I adore them. I think it's just fantastic. And the formula is lovely. The formula is kind of creamy. It's beautiful. It's forgiving on mature lids. Just lovely. And I mean, if I look at these shades, you know, even the black, which has got this lovely sparkle, that can also very nicely be kind of diffused on the corner. Just really lovely. I just think it's great. And if you can pick this up on a discount, absolutely cracking. And what a gift, what a lovely gift for some lucky recipient. Now, if you want to stick with the glittery, shimmery, delightful theme, but one that doesn't necessarily need a neutral palette, how about Danessa's Lightworks? Now, the thing is, what's great about this palette is it's got the mattes that everybody was crying out for. Now, I was and am a huge fan of the 6-pan mini pastels palette. I just thought all 6 of those shades were really super duper usable. The 3 mattes are creamy, long lasting, no fallout, just fabulous. Really enjoyed wearing it in the summer. I haven't worn it recently. I suppose apart from the brown and the bronzy shade, they don't feel as wintry colours to me. However, this, on the other hand, is, you can see I've really used it, is absolutely glorious. Today I've worn, what have I worn? Oh, I've worn these two. I've worn these 2 shades here at the top on my lids and just put a little bit of the matte brown just in the corner. You don't have to go for the full glitz. These are the shades really that I kind of perhaps have used less, but I just use the blue as a liner, really. My latest way of thinking about these big palettes is, if I use at least 80% of them, then I feel that they're good value. And that's why I'm recommending this to you today. I did the calculation. I enjoy 83.3%. I didn't do the calculation. I looked it up. I didn't do it in my head. What do you think I am? My head's far too full of this kind of stuff to have room for numbers. But anyway, 83.3% is what I enjoy in this palette. This is because I discounted these 2 blues, not because I don't use them, but because I find them a bit trickier to use. And honestly, I don't need the stress in my life. And while I do like the blue, it's a little bit too blue metallic for me. when I sort of compare it to the slightly softer shades that I can get from, you know, Charlotte Tilbury or indeed from Danessa. So from that point of view, yeah, they're the ones I don't use, but the rest, fantastic, really good, very eminently usable. And also I just want to say the mattes are beautiful, really creamy. Plus remember, you know, it does that whole metallic thing where you can stack it and they're completely interchangeable, so you can create your own special little 6-pan. And I know from some of the comments that I got from my subscribers and viewers, a lot of you are already doing that. I'm not doing that, I'm too much of a coward. However, I was convinced by one particular lovely subscriber because, as she pointed out, the names are not written actually on the, you know, the dividing bit of plastic, so you don't have to get confused. It's not like fiddling around with a Natasha Denona palette where the names are still on there. So that is tempting me, and I'm almost there. I think I probably will do it for when I go away at Christmas time. But anyway, all I'm saying is this is at a high price point, and to be able to get it on a discount, assuming it's available and in stock, you know, this is kind of what sales are made of, to be able to get a deal on a palette like this, which is, you know, pricey, but in my opinion worth it, simply because you've got this wonderful, you know, stackable delivery, not so much delivery, but a stackable packaging component. You know, you can stack it along with the pastel one as well if you have it. Just lovely, and the quality's great, easily blendable. Same with a Pat McGrath. So, you know, it's a good combination with the more neutral palette if you can, and then just be able to, you know, do a one swipe thing. Really, really good. On the subject of Danessa, I just want to remind you about her sticks. Now, when these first came out, I know lots of people were sort of going bananas over them, and I was one of them. I have to tell you, I do still reach for them. The simplicity of them just really, really appeals to me. In a way, it's a bit like the Patrick Tar duos that I also recommend you, that I'll show you in a sec. It's the same thing in the sense that it's very much just a one smoosh or one swipe and you're done. They also feel incredibly cooling on the lids. And again, this kind of component that Danessa's clearly worked so hard on, they're completely swappable, because you've got this kind of metallic component and then you just decide which two you want on which end. Or if your drawers aren't sort of enormous, because these are quite long to kind of store, you can just store them in sort of halves, as it were. So really usable, really kind of, I remember saying this in my review, she's really thought about the user experience. You know, oh, I don't fancy using this when I'm on holiday, I'd like to switch it with another one, and then you can just chop and change, as it were, and just do that and just take that. So, you know, that's a really good thing. I love the fact that they last a really, really long time. They're on the lid, they don't move, they just don't move. You put it on, smush it with your finger or a brush, and you're done. No fallout, no nothing, just incredible. Glorious, glorious high shine. The two shades that I would really, really recommend are number 1 and number 7. Number 1, in my opinion, is such an easy, usable kind of taupey combination that, in a way, it's probably the most user-friendly, actually, because you've got a deeper shade to be able to blend in. But the number 7, which is a little bit more goldy, and I'm not particularly a goldy person, but I have to say, when these came out, I did enjoy using them because the weather was still a little bit warmer. It just kind of suited the clothes that I was wearing and all that kind of stuff. So really good. I highly, highly recommend them. The Patrick Tar Major Dimension Duos that launched at the back end of last year, and now there's been a shade extension. I think these are great. I loved them last year. I've got 2 and I bought another 2. The one that I would recommend is this one, which is called, what is it called? It is called Slow Burn. I'll tell you why I recommend it. Let me show you. Look at that. It's really lovely. You can blend the two together and you don't need another eyeshadow to give you the depth. That's what's so lovely about both of these together. Just really lovely. They work really, really well. Let me show you close up. There you go. Can you see? You get high shine, high pigment, this very pearlized effect. Just wonderful. I mean, they are quite pricey, but I don't know, I think they're not seeming as pricey as they seemed a year ago. There's a little mirror in the compact and the actual component is just, you know, is really lovely. I really enjoy all four of the ones that I've got, but I do think that Slow Burn from the new shade extension is really one of the ones really worth considering. And the formula's lovely. Everything's great about these. They're just enormous fun and kind of economical in space. You know, if you've got just a couple really of eyeshadows, you can get your business done, especially over the holidays if you're going to stay somewhere. This says party and fun and excitement. So I really, really recommend these. I think in a way you get quite a lot of bang for your buck, even though it's just a little duo. They're just very, very wearable. And finally, a handful of small essentials. So I've popped in 4 mascaras, 2 of the Hourglass tubing mascara, which I absolutely adore in both espresso and black, because for me these are kind of staples, as I'm sure they are for you, so I kind of tend to stock up at this time of year to keep me going for the future months. And I've also this time actually popped in 2 of the Too Faced Better Than Sex mascaras, one in brown and one in black, because I just happen to like the formula on days when I'm not really doing anything other than putting on a bit of mascara and lip gloss. I just find it a really quick mascara to kind of get a good bit of thickness, and it's actually quite easy to remove. It's not a tubing mascara, but it does remove quite easily for those days when I'm really, you know, on the run or on the hop, depending on which kind of activity I want to choose. And then 2 things. One is I am absolutely intrigued, and so I will be buying the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Blurring Balm Setting Spray. I just want to give it a go. I want to see what it's like, because I have not been disappointed by a product from Danessa to date. And I'm a little bit worried because I don't want that day to come. Do you know what I mean? I just don't. But I want to give this a go. I do. I want to try it. I do like very much the One Size Powder Melt setting spray. I do really like that. I noticed it was out of stock in the US. It's not out of stock in the UK, but I do really, really like it. And if it comes back into stock, I would urge you to give it a go if you enjoy a setting spray. It's not drying at all. It doesn't do that thing that it makes you feel like your face has been set. It's got a hydrating quality to it, and it does help the makeup kind of last all day. It is really lovely. But the Danessa I am intrigued by, so I definitely want to give that a go. Also, on that theme, I would very much like to recommend that if you haven't already done so, oh, I'm clutching it like it's this precious thing, which it actually is, I would urge you to give the Yummy Skin Blurring Balm in Universal a go, particularly if you're a combination or an oily skin. I am neither, and I think it's fantastic, but it is actually made for oil control. I just think it's wonderful. It gives a lovely, gentle, matte finish, particularly in the warmer months. That's really when I started using it, and when I was using it pretty much every day. Now it's less it's less frequent. It's probably maybe twice a week I use it, but this is my first one. I'm almost at the end. I've got the last kind of quarter or less of it, which is why I'm going to be buying another one to save it for the summer. It's such a miraculous and unusual product. You sort of put it on around your T-zone and wait. The ideal, I think, is a good 20 to 30 minutes if you are combination or oily. I'm saying that because I tend to put on a lot of skincare, as I've mentioned, and if I put it on top of my skincare, it's at that's the point that I kind of want to, that it kind of needs that time for it to do the mattifying thing that you want it to do for the oil control in the summer months. For me, It's just amazing. And then you put your foundation on top, whatever foundation you use. I, in the summer, was using my MAC, whatever this is called now. It's called, oh, it's still called Studio Fix Powder Plus foundation, which, you know, I really love and have used a lot. This is my first one. This is my first one? Yeah, I was using the previous incarnation on and off, particularly in the summer, and then this came out and I've used this. I really love this. But this on top of this is perfection, but equally, even the Clé de Peau, which I really love as a foundation, and I'm wearing now in the winter months a lot, I will still put this underneath because it will help with that kind of, which you're seeing now actually, that sort of end of day shine. I mean, it's quite late now and my makeup's been on a good, I don't know, 12, 11 hours probably now. It's quite late now. It's still, you know, it's still great. It's just wonderful. It comes, it's just fallen out. It comes with a sort of a spoony thing that you're meant to use, which I do use now. Initially I was using my finger and it was just a bit unhygienic. This is just the way to do it. But it's just a fabulous product. Please give it a go. It's just really worth it, particularly if you are combination and oily or oily skin. It's just absolutely wonderful. So that brings us to the end of my Sephora Fantasy cart. Shall we have a look at what the total is? Now, bear in mind, these include recommendations that I already have that I'm recommending to you, as well as new things that I want to buy for myself or like replacement items. So it's not quite as crazy as it's going to look, but I'm going to close my eyes because the number probably won't be in 2 figures, will it? It won't be 2 figures. Will it be 3 figures? Will it be 4 figures? It's not going to be 4 figures. Is it going to be 4 figures? I think it's 4 figures. I think it is. But, you know, this video is all about manifestation. It may well be that by the time I finish this and by the time I finished editing this, someone has left me in cash that amount of money on my doorstep. I do believe in the power of manifesting. I do. And I think that it's going to be essential really when it comes to this video, otherwise I'm going to feel like a bit of an idiot. But anyway, I am going to be ordering my stuff from sephora.co.uk and I would love to hear what you're ordering. Obviously, all the links are down below as they usually are. So thank you very much indeed for supporting my channel. It means the absolute world to me. I'm so grateful to you and thank you. But let me know what you're going to buy, if anything. And is the Sephora sale something that you kind of wait for, really? Or do you wait for another sale or another opportunity? I don't know. And do you use it for gift buying? Because I know I do. I do know that that is something that I do. I tend to buy, you know, exciting palettes for people or something that they might not perhaps buy themselves, but I know they'd benefit from. The large Natasha palette is actually a good case in point. I've got a couple of friends who are makeup users, but they don't like, you know, lots of shimmer. You know, both the soft and the deeper one is going to be perfect for, you know, both of my friends. So that is the kind of thing that I do buy. But over to you. I would love to hear from you. Do let me know. I'll see you in the comments down below. Give me a thumbs up and do subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.